Welcome back to The Explainer. If you're a focused learner looking to really unpack the esoteric structures of the past, well, you're in the exact right place today. We're stepping right into a fascinating exploration of an ancient framework. Specifically, we're looking at a piece of esoteric technology designed to do one extremely powerful thing: heal sudden life fractures, and heal them fast. We're exploring the source materials surrounding Rahayel, traditionally known as the angel of swift restoration. Let's get right into it. So, I want you to think about the sheer suddenness of life's breaks. What if a deep life fracture could mend quickly? Imagine a sudden illness that drops you completely flat when you absolutely, positively do not have the time to be sick. Or a severe burnout that flattens you during a week where you literally cannot afford to rest. Or maybe it's a really hard, grating conversation with a parent that leaves the air between you incredibly heavy, full of all those things that weren't said, leaving you just desperate for a fast recovery. When things snap suddenly like that, our patience for the slow, agonizing process of recovery wears incredibly thin. And this ancient text proposes a framework precisely for that exact moment.
Okay, let's dive into this. The source text introduces Rehael, defining this energy as the god who welcomes the sinner. But as the text clarifies, this actually carries way more weight than its religious packaging might initially suggest. It's described as an esoteric code, a literal frequency of swift restoration and willing return. The core concept here is that Rehael operates by dissolving a super stubborn belief, the belief that a physical break or an emotional offense simply cannot be forgiven. It closes the gap quickly, and that gap could be between you and your own body, between you and someone you love, or even between you and the version of yourself you were before the break happened. Moving right along into Section 2, the Code of Swift Mercy, looking at healing the sudden fracture.
To really get a grip on the mechanics of this frequency and Rahael's unique function, it's super helpful to look at its counterpart, Sihia. Sihia is the frequency that sustains you through the long middle. Those times when you just have to grit your teeth and endure something over a long period. But Rahayel is an entirely different ballgame. Rahayel accelerates the return to wholeness right after something has abruptly given way. In fact, the old texts actually call this name swift to condone. It's the frequency of a mercy that emphatically does not keep you waiting around. The source material makes a really profound psychological point here. It states that the obstacle to restoration is rarely the actual thing that happened. No, the real obstacle is the ledger. The belief kept by the other person or by your own body or by that part of yourself that's keeping score, that the event cannot be forgiven. When this ancient code is running, the text says Rehael doesn't forcefully pry you open. That doesn't work like that. Instead, it softens. It softens the hardened places in your chest. It softens the parts of your energy field that are braced against reconciliation. It dissolves the ledger completely, just to reveal the tenderness that's almost always waiting underneath.
Section 3, the anatomy of the name. Let's unlock the esoteric data.
Shifting gears just a bit from the emotional mechanics to the highly logical structural data, we look to the study of gematria, which, if you're familiar, assigns a numerical value to letters. Here, 510 is the calculated frequency of Rahayel. The text also notes that this name resides in the Sephira of Jevarah on the Kabbalistic tree of life. For those of you tracking the esoteric data, this points to a really disciplined, boundaries-focused energy that's being channeled directly into swift, restorative mercy.
To further ground this mystical data, the tradition provides an astrological placement as well. Rehael aligns with the decan of Libra, specifically from 10 to 15 degrees. It's just endlessly fascinating how these ancient systems interlock like a giant puzzle, tying a structural healing code to specific celestial coordinates.
And this brilliantly illustrates the visual and metaphorical genius of the original Hebrew text. The name itself is composed of 3 letters from the Red Sea verses: Resh, He, and Ayin. Resh represents the end of their own resources. He is the breath, or the window. It's the opening to receive. And Ayin is literally the Hebrew word for eye, representing recognition and the loving gaze. When you put them together, the very shape of the Hebrew letters forms a complete visual gesture of return. The one who has nothing left arrives at the threshold opens, and they are finally truly seen.
Section 4, when to turn to Rehael. Looking at scenarios for rapid repair.
Now that we understand the structure, let's direct the focus back to your immediate life. So the crucial point is that this name specifically governs paternal and filial love. That's the bond between parents and children.
You turn to Rehael when parent-child relationships have cooled off, or when you're dealing with aging parents where old fractures really need to close before time runs out. Because let's face it, parent-child fractures are often the hardest to repair since the ledger goes so incredibly deep. The text notes that this name doesn't lecture the family, it just gently reminds the souls of the love running underneath the grievance. But it's also incredibly useful for severe burnout, a sudden illness that needs a fast bounce back, carrying heavy regret, or when you just need to repair a hurt you caused before it has a chance to harden. I want to pause on this quote from the text for a second. Rahayel is also the code to run when the practitioner is the one withholding mercy. This is such a brilliant, piercing insight. You know, sometimes a fracture persists not because the other party refuses to soften, but simply because we are the ones bracing against it. We are the ones refusing to soften. The tradition says this name meets that internal resistance just as readily. It reminds the energy field that swift return is available, regardless of which direction is holding it back. Section 5, the activation process. Let's move to and see how this builds into running the code. Let's look at how this builds into an actual applied practice. The source text lays out a really clear, calm, and instructive sequence, recommending you dedicate about 10 to 15 minutes for it. It shouldn't be rushed, but you don't need to draw it out either. Step 1 is to receive the letters. You visualize the resh, the he, and the ayin from right to left, really internalizing that gesture of the bowed figure meeting the loving gaze. Step 2 is sounding the name. The text heavily emphasizes that sounding resh, he, Rehael must rely on tender warmth, letting it land gently in the throat rather than using forceful vocal projection. Step 3 is entering the field. You close your eyes and hold the specific fracture in your attention. But here's the absolute key. You must not construct a case, and you must not rehearse your grievances. You just let the fracture be present as the frequency meets it. Step 4 is sealing the code, which we'll look at right now. The source text provides what it calls field notes. These are the immediate expected outcomes of running this code. It states that you can expect an observable shift within 1 to 2 days. This might look like a sudden reduction in the heat of a grievance, maybe an unexpected surprise text message from someone you've been at odds with, or even just your body suddenly cooperating with recovery. It also notes that advanced practitioners can pair Rahayel with another name, Rahayel, if severe burnout is the specific fracture being repaired, or pair it with Chavakea for deeper, long-term family reconciliations. To complete step 4 of the activation, the tradition relies on a specific psalm anchor to seal the code, and that's Psalm 30:10. Hear, O Lord, and have mercy upon me. Lord, be thou my helper. The text points out a completely beautiful detail here. This specific psalm is traditionally recognized as the exact song of someone who was brought right to the brink of death and was restored quickly enough to sing about it. It perfectly encapsulates that fast arc of mercy that Rehael brings. Mercy that arrives immediately because the practitioner has finally stopped arguing against it. You speak this, place both hands over your heart, take one soft breath, and the code is sealed. Which brings us to the final thought derived from this ancient framework. Where in your life are you still withholding the mercy of a swift return? Whether it's an estrangement from a parent, a frustration with your own recovering body, or a ledger you are keeping against yourself, the esoteric text of Rahayel challenges us to identify those hardened places. It empowers us to test this framework, drop the ledger, and allow the underlying tenderness to finally surface. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching. If something in this resonated with you, then you're already closer than you think. If you're ready to go deeper, there's a link below to my book, Quantum Angel Codes, The 72 Hidden Names of God. This isn't theory, it's a framework you can actually use. Tap the link below and step into it.